Hi, my friends. Thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you could do that. As we consider the attributes of God in our study together, as we've been thinking about this, we've looked at God before the beginning, when there was only God. We looked at the beginning itself and established a time period for that and a date. And we looked at the fact that the beginning means that God created the universe and everything in it from nothing. Well, as I mentioned before, I consider that creativity to be one of the attributes of God. And we saw last time uh, that quality that he has, but I'd like to continue there today. We can see that his creation demonstrates his wisdom. Psalm 104:24 says, O Lord, how manifold are thy works! In wisdom hast thou made them all. The earth is full of thy riches. That wisdom can be seen in the order that exists in the sun, moon, and stars and planets. That's why we can send a spacecraft off to Mars that will take 2 years to arrive because we know exactly where Mars will be in 2 years. It's not random, it's not chaotic. There's perfect order in the universe that God has created that reflects his wisdom. We're told in Jeremiah 10:12, he hath made the earth by his power, he hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. Several years ago, I wrote a tract about this quality. I called it the signature of God. It was about what some people call the golden ratio, how God used that mathematical formula to identify himself in creation, almost like an artist would put his signature on a painting as the last thing that he's done. It's like God has put his signature on the creation that he made with this ratio. Well, Proverbs 3:19 and 20 says, The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth, and by understanding hath he established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, the clouds drop down the dew. Well, I'd like to approach that today in a little different way. I'd just like to tell you a story. There's so many stories that I can tell you that demonstrate God's wisdom through creation. But this is a story that will show forth the wisdom of God through the creation of one of his smaller creatures, the monarch butterfly. Monarch butterflies are not only beautiful, but they also demonstrate the wisdom of God through their amazing migration. It is something impressive when a small bird navigates many miles, sometimes over open water, to arrive at just the right destination. But the monarch is even more awe-inspiring because its trip involves multiple generations and even the creation of super butterflies. It's a story that begins on a spring day when a butterfly leaves its home on a tree in Mexico and starts to fly north. It's always north, it's never east, west, or south. How does he know which is north? Well, some would call that instinct, uh, which in reality is just a word that we use when it means we have no idea why or how they do that. They just do, and we can observe it. And after a while, it lays an egg on a milkweed plant in Texas or Oklahoma, and that egg will hatch into a caterpillar. The mother butterfly always chooses milkweed because the caterpillar that will be born eats only the leaves of milkweed. It's a plant that has such a bitter taste that grazing animals leave it alone. It also means that the caterpillar tastes yucky to most potential predators. But after munching on those leaves for several weeks and growing rapidly, the caterpillar forms a chrysalis. And 2 weeks later, a brand new monarch butterfly will emerge. And as spring turns into summer, it's time to head north. Again, always north. It's tempting to say it heads north again, but remember, this is the second generation. This is not the same butterfly at all, and yet it still knows north from south. The monarch will only live for a little over a month, which limits the distance it can cover. And so before long, another milkweed plant is found and eggs are laid that will produce a third generation. And that process will be repeated when that third generation of monarch butterflies will arrive in places like Ontario and New York and Michigan and Wisconsin or Minnesota. That's when that fourth generation will be born, and they are the super butterflies. This generation, it'll be bigger, it'll be stronger, and unlike the previous generations, this will live for 8 or 9 months. As summer turns into fall, the super monarch begins to store fat to prepare for a long trip. And this time it starts to fly south, not north. And it'll keep flying toward a place it has never seen. Its parents have never seen, its grandparents have never seen, until it reaches the Mariposa Monarch Biosphere Reserve in the mountains of Mexico, the same place where that first butterfly started its journey. It's a distance of up to 3,000 miles. And these amazing butterflies that were born in this variety of northern states will always navigate to the same place that they have never seen, their parents or grandparents have never seen. And when they all arrive, the trees are so thick with monarchs, they look like they have orange, yellow, and black leaves. They're just covered with these butterflies, and they'll spend the winter there. And then in February or March, they'll head north, and the cycle begins one more time. I know there are some who would consider this story and think evolution is just so amazing that provided these lucky insects with some yet to be discovered DNA that somehow gives them a built in compass and somehow directs every fourth generation to be super and somehow points them to just the right spot in Mexico at exactly the right time. You realize how much blind faith it takes to believe that? The plain truth is the theory of evolution plus time plus chance doesn't begin to explain the migration of the monarch. You see, this world is ordered as evidence of God's wisdom. The amazing thing is that our omniscient God has chosen to impart a little bit of his wisdom to this beautiful insect. This would be similar to the intelligent design argument that this world could only have come through a wise creator. And this is in stark contrast to the theory of evolution with its impersonal nothing plus time plus chance. It's far more reasonable to say, as the psalmist once did, let them praise the name of the Lord, for he commanded, and they were created. Psalm 148 in verse 5. We have a wise God, and the creation that he has given us, that he made all around us, reflects some of that wisdom in so many different ways. Think about that today a little bit, will you? Meditate on it. I look forward to being back with you again soon. Have a great day, folks.